Bonjour, class. Today we're going to take a look at interrogatives. So interrogatives are question words, if you were unfamiliar with that. So throughout this unit, we're going to be reviewing the meaning of our question words in French, and we are also going to practice forming questions, since they are a little different than how we might form questions in English. So let's get started with our daily message. Chère classe, depuis le début de l'année, nous avons appris plusieurs questions qu'on peut utiliser pour mieux connaître les gens. Qu'est-ce qu'on demande aux gens qu'on ne connaît pas? So for our do now for today, you're basically going to answer the question that I've asked you on the previous slide. So since we'll be on Edpuzzle, in the question box on the side, right now, you're going to write down 3 questions in French that you would ask someone in order to get to know him or her. So questions like, what's your name? Maybe where you're from? Do you have any siblings? These are all things that you should know at this point. So just answer them in that question box to review. So how do we form questions in French? So the first question that we're going to take a look at is the question word est-ce que. So oftentimes in English, we use the word do or are to begin a yes or no question. In similar fashion, French yes or no questions can be formed with the phrase est-ce que to begin our question. There are other ways of forming yes or no questions, which we will go over, but the easiest way is just to add est-ce que to the beginning. So for example, if you wanted to ask the question, do you speak French? One way you could do this would be est-ce que tu parles français? So now you take a try at this. So you have 3 questions here in English. In your Edpuzzle question box, you are going to translate these questions into French. So do you dance? Do you eat pizza? And do you watch television? So if we go over them, do you dance would become est-ce que tu danses? So you'll notice you still have your subject pronoun and you have to conjugate your verb to agree with that subject pronoun in the question. For number 2, do you eat pizza? We have est-ce que tu manges la pizza? And the last one, number 3, do you watch television? Est-ce que tu regardes la télé? So now we're going to start taking a look at our different question words. So as we go through this, be sure to fill in as much as you can on your note sheet. What we don't get to today, we'll take a look at in class tomorrow. So our first question word, we have pourquoi, or why. So to ask the question why, we use the interrogative pourquoi. Please note that for this interrogative and all the rest, with the exception of the word qui, we're actually going to flip the subject and the verb. Once we have our question word, what follows will be a subject-verb flip. So if you take a look at your example, we have our subject pronoun in blue and our verb in red, our main verb. So if we were to ask the question, why do you like to dance? We have pourquoi aimes-tu danser? So once you flip that subject and verb, you have to put that hyphen in between. So for the majority of our question words, we will have to do this, with the exception of our question word qui. Our next question word is the question word quand, and this means when. So when we want to inquire about a time or a date even, we might ask the question word quand. So for example, when do you go to school? Quand vas-tu à l'école? So again, take notice that our subject pronoun and our verb have flipped. So you'll notice in English, our next word is où, meaning where. So to ask a question about location, we use the question word où. It is imperative that you put the accent mark over the U because without it, it does change the meaning of our word. So without it, the word would mean or instead of where. So this is one of those words when you do your writing for the FLACS exam that if you forget to put that accent mark on the U, you would lose points because you're now changing the meaning of the word, sorry. So our example with the question word où is where are you going? Or où vas-tu? Okay, so our next question word is going to be the question word for what, which is que. Or sometimes you might see it as qu'est-ce que. Either one is correct. We'll explain the difference between the two in class because it can be confusing. So don't worry about it just yet. So in French, we don't use this question word as often as we might use it in English. So do be careful. We'll clarify a little bit more once we get to the question word quel as to why. So our example with que would be what are you eating or que manges-tu? Our next question word is combien or how much or how many. And so to find out a quantity in French, we're going to ask the question combien de. We've used this question word before, especially last year when we did the food unit and you asked how much things cost, so combien coûte. But in this case, you can use it many different ways. So one of our examples is how many apples are there, or combien de pommes y a-t-il? So you'll notice that underlined section, the y a-t-il, can look very intimidating. It's just asking, are there? So again, what you've done is flipped the subject and the verb. And since there are a lot of vowels here, we just have to add that T just for sound purposes. So you'll see this again in another example. So now this brings us to one of our final question words, which is quel, which can mean which or what. So the question word quel translates to which or what, and it is always followed by a noun or by the verb être. So the question word quel is also seen as an adjective. I know, super confusing. So like any other adjective in French, it must agree in number and gender with the noun that it precedes. So for example, we have which book do you want? Quel livre veux-tu? So since livre is masculine, we're going to keep quel as Q-U-E-L. Now in the next example, quel is going to go with a feminine noun, which is color, and so we have to modify it and it becomes Q-U-E-L-L-E. Quel can become plural for masculine and feminine. So you have all of those examples listed on your note sheet. And so you'll just have to review those and you'll continue working on this again next year in French too as well. Okay, next one, we have qui or who. So to ask the question who, we use the interrogative qui. For this question, we do not need to flip the subject and the verb because who is actually our subject. Therefore, we must conjugate our verb in the third person singular, aka you're going to conjugate it as if it were il or elle. So for example, who likes to watch television? Qui aime regarder la télé? Okay. Finally, we have the question word comment. So you've seen this before with comment tu t'appelles, and comment ça va. So the question comment means how. So we're going to try to use this a little more in this unit. So for example, if we're looking at our professions, we might ask, how is your job? Comment va-t-il l'emploi? How's it going? Notice here too, when we flip the subject and the verb, sometimes we're going to add that T, just like you saw in the y a-t-il. And the reason we're doing this is to separate the two vowels, right? Because if without it, you would have the A from the va and the I from the il together. And from a sound perspective, it's not going to sound as good in French, like va-il. No, the va-t-il sounds better. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so on your note sheet, go through this chart, make sure you have everything completed. So combien means how much or how many. Comment, how. Est-ce que, do or are. Où, where. Pourquoi, why. Quand, when. Qui, who. Quel, which. And que, what. So we do have a little song for you to remember the question words. So you can find this on YouTube. I'll play it for you here just so you can use it to study if you need. All right, so I hope this was helpful. Take the remainder of the period to fill in the rest of your question sheet and any other activities there are for you on Google Classroom. And we will take a look at this again on Monday. Bon weekend!